Discover the divine answer to the Jews' and Arabs' conflict, a sacred revelation of God's plan. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, the certainty of promises and the weight of despair settled heavily upon Abram and Sarai. Though God had made a covenant with Abram, promising him countless descendants, time had worn the hopeful spark into the ashes of worry. Sarai, desperate for an heir as the sun dipped below the horizon, wrestled with her barrenness. In an attempt to take control of her destiny, she summoned Hagar, her Egyptian maidservant, casting her into a role that would ripple through history. Hagar, thrust into this arrangement, stood at the precipice of motherhood, the bearer of Abram's promised heir, yet caught in the shadow of her mistress's jealousy. As Hagar felt the miraculous quickening within her, the joy of bearing a child soon turned bitter. Sarai, tormented by the sight of Hagar's growing belly, found herself consumed by envy. The tension uncoiled like a tightening noose around the tent of their patriarch. Hagar became the target of Sarai's rage, her worth diminished to mere utility. "I am not your equal," she whispered in her heart, weary under Sarai's oppressive hand. The desert rose in Hagar's spirit, an echo of the arid land that mirrored her exhaustion. In an act of desperation concerning her own identity and grief, she fled into the wilderness of Bir-lahai-roi, the well of the living one who sees me. The rugged landscape loomed vast, filled with stones and thorns, the sun blaring down relentlessly as fear crept into her heart. Alone, utterly forsaken, she sensed the silence of the heavens pressing down on her spirit. It was amid this solitude that the divine broke through. The angel of the Lord found Hagar, a penetrating light in her darkness. "Hagar," he called, as if her name carried the weight of destiny, servant of Sarai. As she turned her gaze toward the wondrous voice, she felt known, seen in her plight. "Do not be afraid," the angel spoke, compassion pouring forth. "You are to bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, for the Lord has heard your affliction." Hagar's heart stirred, resonating with a truth she longed to grasp. "Your son will be a wild man, but he shall also be blessed," continued the heavenly messenger. The promise settled over Hagar like a shining robe, an assurance that her cries and fears had not gone unnoticed by the God of Israel. She, the despised, was graced with divine insight. Her child, Ishmael, destined to birth a great nation. The revelation enveloped her, igniting hope yet burdening her soul with turmoil. Questions surged within her. What role would Ishmael play alongside the covenant heir, Isaac? How could God weave both destinies into his grand tapestry? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As Hagar returned from the wilderness, emboldened and compelled by the revelation of God's faithfulness, fresh resolve bloomed within her spirit. Yet the specter of contention seemed to hang heavy over both families. Each step back towards the tents was laced with the weight of divine promises, seated within hearts that would one day clash in a great struggle. The unfolding of this sacred plan felt as uncertain as the shifting sands of the desert, yet the flicker of God's covenant remained eternal, transformative. The narrative stands poised, echoing a divine mystery, destined to unfold across generations, the very essence of what grace can accomplish in the midst of strife. As the days turned to weeks, time unfolded the tapestry of emotions within the tents of Abram. The laughter of strangers grew dim, yet the fire of uncertainty burned bright. Hagar returned to her rightful place, yet her heart throbbed with a new rhythm. Both fear and exhilaration danced within her. Each step echoed the promise that had pierced her solitude, and the name, Ishmael, held weight beyond her comprehension. Abram welcomed her back, his heart burdened for Sarai. "What has God spoken to you, Hagar?" he asked gently, sensing a change in her demeanor. With trembling voice, she recounted the angelic visitation and the revelation that she would bear a son, destined to thrive in the wilderness. A solemn silence enveloped the tent. Abram's thoughts spiraled, caught in the profound realization that this child held a part of their divine narrative. Sarai, though fraught with jealousy, could not stifle the flicker of curiosity ignited by Hagar's account. Her heart longed for the promised child, but had wrestled fiercely with the woman's return. In a moment of reflection, Sarai confronted her pain, her bitterness laid bare. "Why has God dealt with me thus?" she whispered into the night. The moonlight cast shadows that danced across her sorrowful face, an emblem of her deep yearning. Days passed, and as the seasons shifted, Hagar's belly swelled with life. Ishmael was nearing his birth, and Abram offered prayers of thanks while struggling with an ache for Sarai's heart. Abram placed his hand upon Hagar's womb, feeling the stirrings of the promise, a life woven in the threads of their covenant with God. "Yet I cannot bear my pain in silence," Sarai admitted one day. Overwhelmed, she brought forth her anguish. "Let us go to the living God with our plight. He is the God who sees." Reluctantly, Hagar incurred the master's call to share in the journey towards seeking divine clarity. Gathered together under the vast expanse of stars, they made petitions to God. A heaviness cloaked the night, pregnant with expectation. Time stood still as each heart poured out its truths, the thirst for answers, the cry for peace between them, and longing for a destined future woven by God's hand. It was then, given in their earnestness, that a message came. The voice of the Lord thundered across the silent desert air. "Abram, my servant, hear my words. You are to embrace the child as the seed of promise, and I shall strengthen him. You shall not cast out Hagar and Ishmael, for their journey is entwined with yours. My covenant shall flourish, but listen, as it shall be the offspring of Isaac that will bear the fullness of my promise." Hagar's heart raced at the gravity of what was spoken. The words wrapped around her soul. She sensed the unfolding legacy of struggles that would now bear significance, woven in the very fabric of their being. Would Ishmael be an outcast, or would he rise to fulfill a distinct plan in God's blueprint? With the night closing in, a storm brewed within their spirits. An unsettling conflict hung overhead, hinting at turmoil yet unseen. The implications of the Lord's revelation cascaded through their hearts, foretelling a covenant that transcended borders and generations, igniting the fires of discord that would one day blaze. As dawn beckoned with the promise of a new day, Abram stood at the threshold of prophetic destiny, his heart a battleground of faith and doubt. What would unfold from these complex ties that bound them? Questions lingered like the mist at morning light, veiling clarity while hinting at answers yet to come. In the quiet hush of divine promise, the tension remained, a precursor to history itself, a history where each choice would usher forth not just personal destinies, but bring forth the divine plan laid before the foundation of the world. What would it mean for nations, for generations yet unborn? The path before them sat cloaked in mystery, as God's sovereign will continue to weave through the hearts of men. As the sun cast its golden rays upon the earth, illuminating the tents where Abram dwelled, the air was laced with anticipation, a solemn reminder of the divine promise that loomed over their lives. Hagar felt the stirrings within her, a vivid reminder that soon she would bring forth the child named Ishmael, destined for greatness in a vast wilderness. Sarai could hear the echoes of Hagar's movements as she tended to her preparations. Within her heart simmered a mixture of dread and hope. She approached Abram, her voice trembling yet resolute. "What if the Lord has indeed seen my plight? What if his promise shall finally be fulfilled?" Abram, wrapped in the embrace of thought, met her gaze, his eyes reflecting the conflict within. "My love, the Lord has spoken," he said, "and his path is unfolding before us. We must seek him earnestly, for our ways are cloaked in uncertainty." Together, they sought the Lord anew, Hagar eagerly joining them, her heart swelling with expectancy, albeit still burdened by the tensions of her past. She carried not just a child, but the weight of implications that would ripple through generations. One evening, as dusk cloaked the horizon, a profound peace settled over their encampment. "Come," Abram beckoned, "let us remember the covenant made with the Most High. For he has promised that I shall be the father of many nations." Under the starlit heavens, he spoke of the Almighty's assurances, the countless descendants that would sprout from his lineage. Sarai sighed, glancing at Hagar, whose smile bore hope and anxiety in equal measure. Is it enough to bear the promise of a child? What of the child born of my womb? She pondered, the distance between them tangible yet inexplicable. Hagar met Sarai's gaze, an understanding bridging their chasm. Your heart yearns, Sarai, yet we are both caught in the divine promise. Perhaps the child of my womb is not to divide us, but to join us in this tapestry of God's plan. The two women prayed together, their words mingling in the night's stillness, merging their fates before the throne of grace. The Lord heard their supplications, and a hush came over the desert as if creation held its breath, waiting for the unfolding truth. Then, in the soft whisper of the wind, the voice of the Lord echoed once again, shaking their spirits. Hagar, you shall name him Ishmael, for I have heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man, his hand against every man, and every man's hand against him. With these words, the burden of Hagar's destiny was sealed, a reflection of struggle and fortitude. Abram, said the Lord, the covenant shall continue through Isaac, your promised son, yet from Ishmael a great nation shall arise as well, for my mercies are boundless. The weight of divine purpose enveloped them, and they understood that God's plans were intricate, weaving together lives and destinies beyond their comprehension. Sarai trembled at the revelation, realizing she was part of something larger, complex yet divinely orchestrated. Could it be? She breathed, as the dread began to lift, revealing the light of acceptance and unity. Indeed, Abram murmured, his heart full. The promise of God will cascade through both lineages. What remains unseen may very well be the foundation for generations to come. As Hagar positioned her hands protectively over her swelling belly, she wondered what the future held for her and Ishmael. Would they be embraced or cast aside in the pursuit of promise? Thus, the night deepened, rich with divine mystery, holding the tension of what was yet to unfold. Would the paths of these two women become one in the eyes of God? In their hearts, the stirring of hope clashed with lingering uncertainty. Little did they know, the threads of their lives intertwined not just for themselves, but for the entire world, speaking to conflicts enduring through the ages. Would the nations born from their sons find peace, or would they remain locked in struggle? Thus, the dawn would bring not merely a child, but questions that would echo through the annals of history, hinting that God's sovereign plan was but a whisper away from an explosion of revelation yet to come. As the first beams of dawn broke upon the horizon, the encampment stirred with the activities of a new day. Hagar moved lightly, anticipation thrumming within her as she contemplated the words of the Lord. What would Ishmael's life be, one of promise or struggle? As she knelt by the well, she filled her water jar, her heart lifted in prayer, thanking the Lord for his assurances and seeking guidance for the days to come. Abram, awake before the sun, stepped outside his tent. He gazed into the vastness of the sky, the stars now faint in the light of day. O Lord, I stand in awe of your ways, he murmured, remembering the covenant made upon the altar of worship. Suddenly, he was aware of the footsteps approaching him. Sarai, her face illuminated with a mix of wonder and resolve, approached. Abram, she called, her voice strong yet gentle. What if the promise I bore was not solely for our lineage? What if all that we have prayed for encompasses a greater truth, a truth that transcends our understanding? Indeed, Abram replied, sensing the urgency in her voice. What the Lord has begun shall not end with us. Yet the path ahead is rich with uncertainty. Each step must be undertaken with faith. Just then, the sound of laughter filled the air. Hagar emerged, Ishmael's small kicks stirring within her. The joy emanating from her was palpable, and the sight drew Sarai's heart nearer, while the apprehension lingered like a shadow. He shall be raised to know the Lord, Hagar said, her tone hopeful yet firm. That a silence stretched between them, laden with unspoken words. Sarai finally breathed, you have borne much, Hagar. Perhaps God weaves us together, not in rivalry, but in a shared fate, a testament of his power and grace. As they spoke, the Lord's presence thickened around them. Abram lifted his voice in prayer, O great God, who shapes our destinies, show us our way. A divine stillness enfolded them, and in the heart of their gathering, the voice of the Lord rang out with clarity. My people, listen. Ishmael shall not walk alone. I will make him fruitful, and he shall be a multitude of nations. Yet through Isaac, the son of the promise, shall the covenant I have established with you continue. From him shall come the chosen line. The weight of revelation crashed upon them, as Hagar bowed her head, overwhelmed by the enormity of God's plans. Suddenly, the thought struck her, what of our future, O Lord? Shall our paths remain entwined? You shall understand in time, the Lord affirmed, for there shall be bonds forged in ways you know not. Life flows through heartaches, and peace shall come forth from conflicts unforeseen. Nations shall rise, and through their struggles, my glory will shine. Sarai listened, astonished by the clarity of God's wisdom. We are mere vessels of your will, O Lord, she whispered, yet our hearts yearn for understanding. May we bear the weight of this promise with hope. Then the Lord continued, the splendor of my plan cannot be grasped in a single glance. Trust in me, for the time shall come when the threads of your lives will reveal patterns of grace woven through histories. With that, the Lord's voice faded, leaving an echo of divine promise hanging in the air, a reminder of the intricate tapestry being woven through their lives. As the sun rose higher, the women exchanged tentative smiles, the seeds of kinship stirring between them like a whisper of shared destiny. Would he be the bearer of peace, or would he become a herald of conflict? And thus they stood together, caught in the divine interplay of faith and uncertainty, not knowing that the unfolding of their lives would become a tale sung through the ages, a story of nations shaped by the hand of God, echoing promises that spoke not only to Abraham's seed, but to the very hearts of those yet to come. For in this moment, a sacred revelation lay hidden, a promise that would transcend time, waiting for hearts to embrace the divine call of unity amidst the complexities of life. What marvelous details of God's sovereign plan would emerge as history turned its wheel? Only time would reveal the tapestry yet to be fully unraveled. As the sun climbed higher, illuminating the day, Abram gathered the men of his household, calling them to consider the words of the Lord that had been bestowed upon them. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, each man reflecting on the covenant and promises spoken. As they sat in the cool shade of the tents, Abram began again to speak of the Lord's plans, growing bolder now, for he felt the weight of the promise within him. Brothers, he began, his voice steady, the God of heaven has chosen to reveal his will to us. Our descendants shall be as the stars of the sky. Ishmael will be a father of nations, and Isaac will inherit the covenant, a sacred line he has carefully ordained. He paused, gazing into the eyes of each man before him, seeking to instill the seriousness of their calling. But tell me, one man asked, a furrow of concern in his brow, how shall we understand this duality? If it is through Isaac the promise shall be fulfilled, what then of Ishmael? Is there blessing for him? Abram felt a surge in his spirit, the weight of a divine mystery brimming on the edge of revelation. Is it not just that the Lord would visit both? He is a God of mercy and justice. Have we not seen it with our own eyes, how he makes way through the wilderness and brings forth life from barrenness? As he spoke, Hagar approached, her brow glistening from the labor of the morning. She carried with her the essence of life, the weight of their shared journey etching lines upon her face. Abram, she said, her tone earnest, I have felt the Lord's presence today in a profound way. He has called us to raise Ishmael as he sees fit, and we must not waver in our faith. We are part of a greater story. Abram nodded, his heart stirred by the connection blossoming between them. Indeed, Hagar, we must teach our children of the Lord's ways, for they shall be instruments of his peace, even amidst the conflict that may rise. Sarai, feeling the tension wrap around them, spoke softly, Oh, how we wish to understand the full scope of this plan. Do we clash only to fulfill prophecy, or is there a way for reconciliation? Her voice trembled with the weight of the question, a doubt settling like morning mist, yet her heart clung to hope. Hope shall guide us, Abram replied, recalling the evening in which the stars burned brightly above him. We shall raise both children among the righteous. Our struggle and understanding will bear witness, for through our tribulations, his glory shall ultimately be revealed. The wind whispered through the camp, carrying their words as eager offerings to the heavens. And as day surrendered to evening, they gathered to pray, affirming the bonds of family and faith. In that sacred moment, their hearts echoed the promise unite, for within the conflicts of the future lies a rich tapestry, stitching together lives and destinies. Days turned into weeks, and the encampment began to feel like a sanctuary of worship, yet shadows loomed in the distance. A nomadic tension simmered among those nearby, but even as trials pressed upon them, Abram remained steadfast. For the Lord had not yet unveiled the full measure of his plan. Hovering in the realm of divine mystery was a future that revealed something deeper. What alliances would be forged through the generations? What trials would shape Ishmael and Isaac, the sons who would stand as symbols of blessing and struggle alike? And so, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a stirring began within Abram's chest. "Something greater stirs in the heavens," he whispered. In that moment, the seeds of tomorrow echoed a life into the future. What paths would unfold under God's sovereign gaze? The tapestry of their destinies was yet unwoven, hinting at a destiny entwined with the legacy of nations, sealed with the heartbeat of divine purpose. Abram awoke the next morning, stirred by a weight upon his heart, as if the very heavens themselves had conspired to draw him closer to the Lord. He stepped outside the tent and beheld the dawn's light spilling across the horizon, casting golden rays upon the land that had been promised to his descendants. Standing firm upon the earth, he lifted his gaze to the heavens and prayed fervently, "O God, reveal thy path to me, and let thy will be made known." As he prayed, the Lord's voice cascaded over him like water over parched soil, breaking through the silence of the morning. "Abram, rise and walk before me. I am calling you to a covenant anew." The words enveloped him with a sense of awe and urgency. With renewed strength, Abram gathered his household, calling for Sarai, Ishmael, and Isaac. "The Lord has spoken," he exclaimed with passion. "He is establishing his covenant with us in fresh measure. Come, let us offer ourselves to him." They assembled, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and expectation, as Abram led them to a sacred spot near the oaks of Mamre. There he built an altar, not merely of stone and earth, but interwoven with prayer and commitment, preparing their hearts to receive the fullness of God's promise. "By his word, our family is called for a divine purpose," Abram declared, as he took the knife in his hand, symbolically ready to offer up their lives. "He is not only the God of my fathers, but of Isaac and Ishmael as well. Through conflict and through blessing, he shall make nations from us. A great multitude is on the way." Sarai, hearing the gravity of his declaration, stepped forward with trepidation. "But Abram, the differences between our sons, will they not bring separation? Is there truly peace to be found among what seems destined for strife?" "It is true," Abram responded gently, "but consider this, God's hand is upon both. Just as he promised to make a great nation from Isaac, so too shall he bless Ishmael. We must not presume to know how the Lord intends to weave our families together." At this, Hagar stepped beside Sarai, her heart filled with a boldness not yet known to her. "Is it not so, that the Lord is weaving a greater narrative? May we not see the fertile ground where our children shall grow, and how through their paths unwritten, the world will witness his glory?" As dusk settled and shadows stretched long, Abram felt the conflict within him wane, replaced by a fervent hope. "Let us raise them together, instructing them in the ways of the Lord, for through our unity, we will reflect the divine purpose." With the sacrifices laid upon the altar, the evening breeze intensified, swirling around them as the heavens flickered with stars. The air thickened with divine promise, and the moment felt suspended in time. They prayed, voices rising as incense, binding their fates with the one who ordained them. "Behold," said Abram, as a sudden light burst from above, casting brightness upon the altar. The presence of the Lord enveloped them. "A new promise is given. From their loins, nations will arise, and they shall need each other to fulfill the divine mandate." And as the flames began to leap and dance upon the altar, a revelation surged through Abram's spirit. In our continuation lies a testament against the strife of man. Ours shall become alliances that, even in brokenness, echo hope. Thus it was that under the celestial canopy, Abram felt them being drawn nearer to the heart of God's sovereign plan, woven intricately, life by life, onto something magnificent. For the night held a mystery unsolved, a promise of coming days. What mighty events would the generations unfold? The call for reconciliation rippled across ages, beckoning toward a resolution that would honor both sons of promise. As the dawn broke anew over the land, a rich golden hue bathed the expanse, and Abram rose with purpose, his heart alight with the promises given. Each morning was a reminder of the covenant, the thread of divine expectation running through their veins. Accordingly, he turned his heart once more toward the Lord, lifting his hands and inviting his presence. "O Lord Almighty," he prayed, "in whom my trust is anchored, guide my steps as the day unfolds. Let your will be made manifest, that we may walk in the light of your truth." In this sacred moment, a whisper floated through the air, a familiar voice, yet charged with new authority. "Abram," it resonated, clinging to the walls of his heart, "your offspring shall be more numerous than the stars. I have set before you a path, fraught with trials, but imbued with everlasting blessings." Though he trembled at the magnitude of divine words, Abram felt strength swell within him, invigorating his spirit. He gathered his family once more, and together they spoke of the great nations to come, their hearts united in faith. Yet under the shared joy, the shadows of despair lingered over Sarai's countenance. "Shall my heart not ache as I think upon the wealth of promise?" Sarai voiced, her brow knitted in concerned thought. "In the face of our journey, how shall we confront the strife that may arise between our sons? Will they not see each other as rivals, rather than bearers of mutual blessing?" "Aye, my beloved," Abram responded, his eyes meeting hers with unwavering faith. "These questions pierce my heart as well, yet our God has declared that out of duality shall arise unity. The paths of Isaac and Ishmael are intertwined in a divine tapestry of grace, each thread vital to the ensuring harmony." Hagar approached, her spirit emboldened by Abram's words. "Let us not fear the uncertainties," she said, her voice rising in fervent resolve. "For even as the valleys swell and the mountains tower, so does God's purpose rest above, unyielding. He is as much deviser of their destinies as he is ours. In his promise, the conflicts may reveal his miraculous outcomes." The family paused to listen to the rustling leaves, sensing the profound truth in Hagar's declaration. The heart of Abram swelled with hope, knowing that the Lord would not forsake them. As they knelt together before the altar, a sudden wind gusted forth, lifting their prayers heavenward. The flames danced as if animated by an unseen hand, a vivid representation of the presence of the Almighty. "Abram," the voice of God resonated yet again, settling upon them like cool water upon parched soil. "I have chosen you as the father of many nations. From your sons shall come kings, and a lineage that shall bear my name. The world shall witness a covenant through your very bloodline." As their hearts united in worship to the living God, Abram's spirit quivered with new understanding. He realized that the testing and trials faced by his two sons would serve a greater purpose, announcing his glory and unfurling his love across nations. Yet in this moment of enlightenment, a new thought pressed upon Abram's heart, a question that would linger heavily upon him. "What shall become of these nations, O Lord? Will there not be strife and division that threaten to extinguish the candle of promise?" And as night began to cloak the world around them, he sensed a divine tension, a mystery of the ages unfurling. The Lord whispered anew, "Fear not, Abram, for even through conflict, I shall orchestrate a greater salvation." Thus marks the beginning. But know this, the collective promise shall not vanish, but instead be revealed in its fullness. The day will come when the lines drawn in the sand will blend into one, bringing forth a revelation of grace. And as darkness fell and stars ignited the night sky, Abram bowed low, seeking the Lord's face, understanding now that the covenant journey had just begun, a divine saga unfolding in time. Yet still remained the question echoing in the night. How would the threads of tumult interlace to weave God's grand design? And it came to pass that as the night deepened, Abram lay beneath the blanket of stars, each one a glimmering promise of God's covenant. He closed his eyes, the thoughts of his sons filling his soul with both hope and anxiety. As he drifted into slumber, visions unfurled a constellation of events yet to come, each moment illuminated by the hand of the Almighty. In his dream, a figure appeared, radiant and majestic. The voice, like thunder softened by grace, called out to him, "Abram, arise, for I shall reveal the burgeoning path ahead, and the weight of my covenant shall you carry." He awoke abruptly, heart pounding, with clarity flooding his mind. The Lord spoke again, "You shall forge nations out of your descendants, yet the trials shall be yours to endure. Even as you walk in faith, prepare yourself for the churning waters of conflict that threaten to divide." Understanding began to dawn upon him. "O Lord," Abram cried out, "how shall our hearts endure when strife arises? How shall unity flourish amid the pain of separation?" But the voice echoed back, filled with a resounding assurance. "Remember the tale of the firebrand, for I shall use that which is consumed for the everlasting flame. From the very ash of discord shall arise a unity unmatched, a testament to my glory." Abram's heart stirred, imagining the future, the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael, destined not only to tread paths of rivalry, but to blaze trails of faith. Here lay seeds of possibility, and in his spirit, he began to comprehend how their stories could entwine, melting division into divine purpose. Thus he arose early, and as dawn broke anew, he sought the company of Sarai and Hagar. "Let us gather," he urged, "that we may offer sacrifices and prayers to the one who governs both the day and the night. For he has seen our hearts and the turmoil that dwells within. He shall guide our paths." Sarai and Hagar joined him, and in solemn unity, they offered their praises. "O Lord, hear our plea, for we stand as one before you, yearning for your wisdom and guidance to navigate the challenges ahead." With hearts aligned, they implored the Lord of all creation to sustain them through the trials to come, knowing that the weight of the future rested heavy upon their family. The winds stirred gently around them, as if the breath of God already breathed life into his sovereign plan. Then silence fell, and in that pregnant pause, the clarity of God's promise surged with vivid intensity. "From the loins of Isaac shall rise a lineage of blessing, yet from Ishmael shall come nations great and mighty. Know that your descendants shall reveal a mystery that through both lines of heritage, my redemptive purpose shall unfold, and you shall witness nations reconciled." "Great God," Abram whispered, "you have spoken profound truths that echo far beyond our understanding. But I am a man of frailty. How can we conflicted hearts bring forth this unity?" The Lord's voice pierced the veil of his doubt. "Indeed, you are frail, yet through weakness my strength is perfected. Prepare your hearts, dear one, for the day shall come when your sons shall meet beyond the lines drawn in the sand, brought together through the threads of grace." As they concluded their sacred gathering, a transformation had begun, coursing through each heart as they contemplated the unimaginable life from strife, peace from turmoil, grace woven through the fabric of heritage stripped bare. And as the sun painted the horizon with colors of hope, the lingering question remained: how would the tapestry of their fates intertwine, ushering in a destiny that reflected the heart of God? The dance of promise was just beginning, a holy mystery waiting to unfold in the seasons to come. And it came to pass that as the dawn's light bathed the earth in brilliance, Abram felt a stirring within his spirit, a resolve kindled by the revelations of the night. He rose early, collecting his thoughts as he gazed upon the horizon, where the sky balanced between night and day, reflecting the transition from despair to hope. As he ventured forth, the Lord spoke once more. "Abram, you must seek the heart of the matter regarding your sons, for they will walk divergent paths, yet be bound by my promise." With determination, Abram summoned Sarai and Hagar to the dwelling that they might discuss the future. The air was heavy with anticipation, for they understood the profound implications of their conversation. "Come, let us speak plainly," Abram began, "for our covenant with God demands clarity in our ties and our calling." Sarai, empathetic yet burdened, nodded, her voice trembling with emotion. "O Abram, how can we reconcile the destinies of Isaac and Ishmael when separation has sowed seeds of strife?" Hagar, mindful of the weight of her own lineage, replied, "Indeed, the son of the bondwoman and the son of the free cannot ignore the paths they tread. Yet, can we not yield to the wisdom granted by our Almighty?" "Aye," Abraham replied, We must trust in God's greater design. It is not within our frail understanding to foresee the outcome, yet we are promised that our kin shall fulfill a purpose far grander than us. With hearts united in purpose, they offered sacrifices to the Lord, their prayers rising like incense to the heavens. O Lord, they cried collectively, we relinquish our doubts and fears into your hands, for you alone understand the fullness of our legacy. As their supplications echoed through the air, the presence of God enveloped them, a radiant cloud that shielded, yet illuminated. In that sacred moment, a vision came to Abram, filled with mysteries yet unspoken. Behold, the Lord spoke, there shall be turmoil between your sons, yet out of that discord shall arise an opportunity for reconciliation. A great nation shall emerge from Isaac, and I shall bless Ishmael with nations as well. Know thou this truth. My plans are higher than your understanding. I shall weave both threads into one tapestry of salvation. Abram's heart quickened, and he grasped the significance of what was to unfold. O God, grant us the wisdom to shepherd these children into paths that honor you. May they recognize that their destinies are eternally intertwined in your divine purpose. Then the Lord gave Abram a sign, as if to stitch together the destiny of Isaac and Ishmael in a tapestry of boundless grace, a promise that from their conflicts would spring the seeds of unity. A day shall come when they will lay aside their swords and embrace grace as brothers, for I am the God of reconciliation. As dawn transitioned to day, they stood on the precipice of fate, hearts aflame with trust in God's promises. The shadow of doubt began to dissipate with a growing understanding of the mystery that awaited. With the horizon of their family legacy unfolding like a vast scroll, Abram pondered the exceptional journey ahead, knowing the days of trial and testing were part of the greater story woven by the Almighty. And as they concluded their gathering, Abram reflected deeply, what shall it take for our sons to fulfill this promise? For upon them rests the weight of nations. Will they heed the call to embrace their destinies in unity? And lo, the winds whispered of the days to come, urging forth the profound truth yet to be revealed. The time was drawing near when the world would witness the fulfillment of God's sovereign plan, a divine calling that beckoned not only Isaac and Ishmael, but all nations toward salvation. In the fullness of time, the appointed hour arrived when the promise made to Hagar and Abram bore fruit in a manner divinely orchestrated. As the sun rose over the encampment, illuminating the tents of Abram, the cries of a newborn filled the air. Ishmael, the son of Hagar, was born amidst a chorus of hope and uncertainty. In this sacred moment, the tension that had bound their hearts for so long was lifted, and a new chapter began not just for their household, but for the world. Hagar held her miraculous child tight, a symbol of God's promise, and as she gazed into Ishmael's eyes, she prayed a mother's vow to raise him in the knowledge of the living God. The days turned to weeks, and the bond between the families began to transform. Sarai, too, found herself enveloped in the tender glow of new possibility. She watched as Hagar mothered Ishmael with fierce devotion, and with each passing day, Sarai's heart softened. One evening, as the sun dipped low upon the horizon, the two women found solace beneath the stars, a celestial tapestry woven by the hand of God. Hagar, Sarai spoke with newfound understanding. Your son has brought light into our camp. I see now that the Lord's promises extend not just to Isaac, but to Ishmael as well. Hagar, astonished by Sarai's words, replied with reverence, indeed, for in our struggle lies the essence of divine purpose. God has chosen both our sons to reveal his glory. In that sacred exchange, a bond formed in acknowledgement of their shared journey, both hearts recognizing that from their tensions rose a beautiful tapestry crafted by the hand of God's. Ishmael began to grow. Abram called upon both boys, a father proud and resolute. Come forth, my sons, he beckoned, his voice echoing wisdom. You are not mere seeds of lineage. You are vessels of God's purpose. From your lives, nations will flourish, each with a unique calling. Ishmael and Isaac, though different in spirit and path, met beneath the oaks of Mamre, each possessing an essence that spoke volumes of their respective destinies. They laughed, they played, and for a moment, The weight of rivalry was lifted, their shared heritage bursting forth like the first bloom of spring. As the years unfolded, challenges arose, struggles between family members, the harsh realities of navigating their intertwined destinies. Yet amidst discord, God's presence manifested. "Fear not," he would whisper in quiet moments, "for my plan cannot be thwarted by man's frailty." Abram continued to teach both sons of God's mercy, imploring them to recognize their blessing amid trials. "O my sons," he would say, "the life of faith is seldom devoid of conflict, yet therein lies the augmentation of grace. You both are chosen, guard your bonds, for unity shall bloom from your struggles." One fateful day, separated by growing distance, the tension flared anew. Ishmael and Isaac each stood on the precipice of their destinies, the shadows of rivalry creeping forth. But it was then that they recalled the teachings of their father, a reminder that their lives were intertwined, a legacy greater than themselves. A mutual respect began to blossom. They turned their hearts toward reconciliation as their bond restored. A stirring arose among their people, reflecting the divine blueprint laid forth the moment of their birth. Generations extended from those humble beginnings, both nations emerging with unique cultures and roles, destined to illuminate the world in their distinct ways. Abram's heart swelled with pride at the sight of harmony. "Look, my sons," he proclaimed, "the world calls for unity. You stand not as adversaries, but as co-heirs of God's unfathomable tapestry, destined to love one another. Though the paths may differ, the truth echoed through time's corridors. From Ishmael, many nations emerged, fierce and wandering, yet fortified by God's grace. From Isaac sprang a line of promise, blessed and chosen, an everlasting covenant unfolding across generations. And thus, the legacy of these two brothers became a testimony, a narrative weaving through the heart of humanity, an invitation to witness God's wonders despite human frailty. Conflict met with grace, struggles surfacing compassion, and in all things, the sovereign plan of God was unveiled, pouring forth blessings upon both lineages. In the fullness of revelation, the vision of unity was clear. As the evening faded into a tapestry of stars overhead, the final words of promise weave through their hearts, a reminder that amidst diversity, God's truth compels us to embrace each other as reflections of his unfailing love. So let it be known that the sons of Abram, Ishmael and Isaac, forever intertwined in the unfolding saga of redemption. Peace birthed in the throes of rivalry, destiny forged in divine purpose, a testament calling upon generations yet to come. Now, dear friends, let us heed the lessons from this sacred narrative. Let us come together as a community of believers witnessing God's faithfulness in our lives. Make sure you subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Leave a like now to assist in spreading God's word through the algorithm. Share your spiritual reflections in the comments. How has this biblical story impacted your faith? And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Together, let us shine his light upon the world.